Homework 4.2, Logarithmic Functions, Video 3. Homework due Friday, May 29th at 11:59 p.m. This video is associated with questions 1 through 8 from Homework 4.2. This is left over. Converting between exponential form and logarithmic form. I can't overstate how important it is in this homework and subsequent homeworks to be able to view a logarithm as an exponent and vice versa. If you have a logarithm problem with a generic base, so we'll call it b, and a generic argument, let's use a for argument, with a generic answer. Keeping in mind that the answer to a logarithm is a power, I'm going to put p for power. What does this mean? A logarithm is a question. The question is what power turns the base into the argument? What power turns this into that? So whatever its answer is the answer to that question. This is the power that turns the base into the argument. Let me say that again, but this time write it down. Whatever this is, it's a p, is a power that turns the base into the argument. The equation on the left is called logarithmic form. The equation on the right is called exponential form. There are some teachers that when they start teaching logarithms, this is the first thing they write on the board, out of nowhere. I don't think that's the best approach. That's my opinion. And I want to cross out the word means and replace it with a more descriptive phrase, is equivalent to. Now we've seen that phrase previously when we talked about the factor theorem, when we said the following are equivalent statements. Is equivalent to means that if one of them is true and then so is the other in either direction. Meaning if you have this log equation, then you have this exponential equation. And if you have this exponential equation, then you have this log equation. There will be times in the very near future, and not so near future, where being able to convert a logarithmic form into an exponential form and vice versa is not only beneficial, but sometimes critical to solving a problem. So before we get to that juncture, let's practice actually converting. For example, let's convert log base 4 of w equals 5 into exponential form. Now, you can memorize this mishmash of letters, and that's great. You may not understand a thing. I can't stress enough that if you understand the question a logarithm is asking, it makes a lot of things so much easier. This logarithm as a question is asking what power turns 4 into w. In other words, what power would you put on a 4 to get an answer of w, whatever that is? Now this question's been answered for us, the answer is 5. So if you remember what a logarithm is asking you, then it's real easy to rewrite a logarithm in exponential form. The question is, what power turns 4 into w? The answer is this power. 5 is the power that turns 4 into w. Now, do I need to evaluate 4 to the 5th power? No, because I wasn't asked to solve for w. I was just asked to rewrite this in exponential form. Mission accomplished. Here's some foreshadowing. A couple of series of videos down the road, this will be the move that we use to help solve equations. So if I were solving for w, then I would figure out 4 to the 5th power. It's 1024. But if my only objective is to rewrite or to convert in exponential form, then I'm done. Because I know that the answer to a logarithm is a power that turns the base into the argument. So that's the power I put on the base to get the argument. And it works in reverse. If you have something that is already in exponential form, you can convert it to a logarithmic form. And you can also ask the same question of the logarithm. Go ahead and set it up, waiting for its base and its argument and its answer. The answer to a logarithm is a power. Who's the power up here? That. The answer to a logarithm is a power that turns the base. Who's the base up here? E. Into the argument. Well, in this equation, x turns e into 8, so the argument is 8. This is the power that turns the base into the argument, because x as a power on e is equal to 8. So it's really just moving the pieces around, but if you understand the question a logarithm is asking, it's easy and becomes easier. Just remember, the answer to a log is a power that turns the base into the argument. The answer to a log is a power that turns the base into the argument. One last comment about this last question. If this were a homework problem, it might count this wrong. Not because it's incorrect, but because it's not as simple as you could write it. Because this is log base e, and there's a special logarithm for that. Log base e is the definition of natural log. What's natural log of 8? I could ask my calculator, but that's not what I'm worried about right now. I was just rewriting in logarithmic form. Questions 1 through 8 ask you to do this. Half of them go from logarithms to exponents, the other half in the other direction. There are a couple of them that require you remembering some exponent rules. So if you forgot them, I would go back and watch the video about that in the previous series.